Hi, students. It is time to get to learning today. So, our first lesson, our first assignment is going to deal with whole number operations. And you can see here that we are dealing with lesson 1.1. So, I'm going to go over all the things that you need to know for this lesson. So, in this lesson, we will discuss whole number operations, which are add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay, to start off today, we're going to look at your bell work. Now, the way that I'm going to approach bell work is I'm going to do a few of these. I'm not going to do all of them because, as teachers, we want to see if you can do some of these things on your own. So, I am going to just do a couple of these to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking for. So, on this first one right here, it says solve and show your work. So let's do that. Let's actually get into using good practices of mathematics, which means that we're going to write our problems out. So I am going to go 24 hundredths, and then I'm going to make sure I line up these decimal points. That's the important part here. When you're adding decimals, you want to make sure that those decimals line up. Now, one of the things you'll notice about Mr. Roberts right off the bat, I don't have very good handwriting. So I'm sorry about that, but I'll do the best I can. Now, one of the other things I want to point out on this problem is that right here, you can see that there's nothing there. Well, what do we call nothing in math? That's right. We call it zero. So I'm just going to put a 0 here to make sure that I know that there's nothing there. I see a lot of students that forget to do that, and then they do something strange with their adding, and it impacts it. So on this one, we just have to remember we're going to add the columns now. You guys are probably pretty familiar with this. So I'm going to go 0 plus 2 is 2. Then I'm going to move on to the next column. 4 plus 3 is 7. Looking at the next column, 2 plus 5 is 7. Then we just bring that decimal. See how they're lined up? We just bring it straight down. So we're just going to make a decimal right there. And then we look at that last column. 0 and 0 is 0. So my answer is, well, does anybody know how to say that? Hopefully you did some of this in 5th grade, but I'm going to tell you how to say this number. Okay, so that 7 right there is a 7. Then we have a 7 and a 2. So that's 772. And then we look at this last place value. What place value does it have? Well, if we remember, and maybe some of you talked about King Henry died Monday drinking chocolate milk. Maybe if you don't know that, we'll talk about that later. But this is the tenths, this is the hundredths, this is the thousandths. So to say this number, we would go 772 thousandths. All right, I would like you to try to do this problem on your own, and it's subtraction instead of addition, but we follow the same we do it the same way that we did on that addition problem. So take a minute, try and answer this question on your own. All right, on number 2, we're talking about taking this number right here. This is called an improper fraction, and we're going to turn it into a mixed number. So a whole number with a fraction. And it will look something like this guy down here. On this one, we're going to take this mixed number and change it into an improper fraction. So I am going to go over this one, and then you're going to go over this one. I may give you a little hint. So on this one right here, it's just a matter of taking 13 and dividing it by 6. Well, how many times does 6 go into 13? Twice. Well, that's 12. We subtract, we have a 1. Now, we just take this 1, and we bring it up here, and we take this 6, and we put it right here. So our answer is 2 1/6. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint. So to change a mixed number into an improper fraction, I am going to do something here, and it's going to come out here. So I'm going to go 6 times 1 plus 5. Put that number here, and then you just take this denominator and you put it right there. So try that one out. All right, on number 3, I would really like to see if you can do number 3. So I'll read it out to you. It says, which number is equal to 10 to the 3rd power? Now, in 5th grade, you talked about what these powers mean. And let's see if you can figure that out. I'm going to move on to the next question. And maybe this will help you do that other question after you see what I do here. So on this, I'm going to use an exponent. So I am going to go 10, oh, whoops, my pen didn't work. 10 to the 2nd power. Okay, let's see if you can do this next one. Try it out and we'll see if you get the right answer. Did you get 10 to the 5th power? If you did it correct. Let's try this last one. Try it on your own. Did you get 10 to the 6th power? So basically what you're looking at here is you look at, okay, how many zeros are there? Well, 1, 2. Oh, 10 to the 2nd power. How many zeros are here? 5, so it's 10 to the 5th power. How many zeros are here? 6, so 10 to the 6th power. All right, so that is your bell work for Monday, for today. So Tuesday, you're going to come into class and you're going to get working on those. And we will talk about the answers to those tomorrow. All right, we are now looking at page number 32 in your journal. And you can see that we're talking about whole number operations. So again, to reemphasize that, we're going to be talking about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So this first problem right here, I'd just like to go over how to set these up. And see how you do. So first of all, I'm going to set it up, and then we're going to see if you can solve it and if you get the same answer as me. So we're going to start out by going 5,947. I like to put my comma there. And 4,281. And we are going to add those. So we'll set that up on your paper the same way that I have it, and then add, and let's see if you come up with the same thing that I have. All right. Did you come up with 10,228? If you did it correctly. Now let's go through this and let's see what I did. I took 7 plus 1 and I got 8. Now on this one, did you see this? You get 8 plus 4 is 12. So I'm going to put the 1 over here because that's the tenths column. So what happens when I have 12 tens? Well, 12 tens is the same as 120, so that 1 comes over here with the hundreds, and we have the 2 here. Same thing happens in the hundreds. 10, 11, 12. So if I have 12 hundreds, well, that's the same as 1,200. So we put the 1,000s where they go, and then the 2 comes where the hundreds is. Then we have 10 thousands. So 9, 10. So there's 10,000s. And that is how you do that one. Okay, moving on to number 2. We are looking at the operation of subtraction. So we are going to go 9,564. And we're going to take away 7,581. So let's see if you can do that one on your own. All right. Did you get 1,983? If you did it correctly. Now, if you didn't get it right, usually the problem I see with students is they don't know how to borrow. So I'm going to explain. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can borrow. I'm going to share the way that I'm comfortable with. So let's just start here in the ones column. I got 4 subtract 1 is 3. Well, that was simple. Well, we're looking right here. I have 6 subtract 8. I don't have enough. If I only have 6, can I take 8 away from it and still have a positive number? No. So I'm going to go next to her. I'm going to borrow from it. So I turn it into a 4. So I borrowed actually 100. So kind of going back to that print, that these are, they stand for a place value. So we took 100 away and gave it to this tens. So there's 160 minus 80 is 80. So back to here, now we have 4, and we can't take away 5 from 4. So we have to borrow again. So we borrow 1,000 from here and give it to the hundreds. So we have 14 hundreds, subtract away 500, and we get 9. And then we have the 8 minus 7 is 1. So 1,983 is how we get that answer. All right, moving on to number 3. You can see here that we have 95 times 12. So I'm going to set this up. 95 times 12. Let's set it up on your paper the same way, and let's see if you can get the right answer. All right, so this problem, after I set it up, I'm going to go through this process. I am going to go 2 times 5, which is 10. So I put the 1 here, the 0 here. Then I'm going to go 2 times 9 plus 1, which is 19. Now, I'm going to just put a 0 in here because this is actually 10 times 5, not 1 times 5. I know there's a 1 there, but that's in the tens place value. That's why I put a 0 there, because there is nothing in the ones on this second row here. So 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 9 is 9. Now I'm going to add. I get 0, 14, carrying my 1, put my 4 here, and then I have 9, 10, 11, 1,140. All right, I'm going to set up this division problem for you. So I'm going to pause, and then you'll just see it appear. All right, so here is the setup for dividing multi-digit whole numbers. So I have 847 being divided by 24. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and the first thing that you ask yourself when you're doing this is, okay, I need to know how many times 24 will go, it doesn't go into 8. So I have to go, how many times does it go into 84? Well, 24 will go into 84. How many times does it go into it? Well, there's a lot. This is what a lot of students struggle with. If you have a calculator, yeah, it's real simple. But if you don't have a calculator, you kind of have to do some estimating. And so I'm going to just go, I always like to start off with like right in the middle, 5. So what is 5 times 24? I have 20. That is 5, 10, that's 10, 11, 12. 120 is way too much. Well, it's quite a bit more. So it doesn't work with 120 for 5. So let's try 3. That's 12, 6, 7, 72. Well, that's still smaller than that. But if I added another 24 to that 72, which would be the same as 4 times 24, is it going to be more than 84? If it is, I have to go with the 3. So I know it's either 3 or 4. So let's try 24 times 4. 1, 6, 96. So that doesn't work. So now we're going to use 3 because 3 is smaller than it. We have 72. We're going to subtract. We get 1, 2. Then we bring down the next number. Well, we already tried 5 a minute ago, and it was 120. So we know that that's what it's going to be, because if I did 6 times 24, it would be way over. So we're going to go 6 times, or 5 times. And we know it's 120. Now we're going to subtract, and we're left with 7. So the answer to this one would be 35 remainder of 7. Now, if we were doing it to the nearest decimal, we would put it a 0 and we'd keep going. But for our purposes today, we're going to just call it 35 remainder 7. I would like you guys to try number 5 on your own, and let's see what you get. I'm going to do the problem, and we're going to see if you get the same thing that I get. All right, so you should have got the answer of 402 if you follow the right things. Now, something I want to point out on this one really quick is after you brought down this 3, 18 doesn't go into 3 after you brought that number down. So that has to be a 0 because it doesn't work. Then you bring down your next number, so it's 18 goes into 36, which goes twice. So the answer to that was 402. All right, so on the bottom of this paper, you're going to see how to find the area. That's the formula for area. There's two different ways to look at it. Area equals the base times the height, or area equals the length times the width. And perimeter is perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, or length plus width plus length plus width. Now, this is going to come handy for your assignment. There's a question that has to do with area and perimeter. All right, so this is the practice part. And with our practice, we actually go over the practice with you to kind of give you some hints and some ways to do this. And the assignment is where you're going to do it on your own. So we want you to have a good example of how to do these. Now, the way that I'm going to do this video is I am going to set these up, and then I'm going to do them, and then I'm going to turn the camera back on so you can see the answers, and then I will go over anything that was kind of tricky. So I'm going to go over 1 through 4. So right now, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to just try to do number 4, 1 through 4 on your own. All right, so here are the answers up from 4, numbers 1 through 4. I got tongue-tied there. Sorry about that. So we have 7,948. Now, if you have any questions about that, make sure that you raise your hand and we talk about it. So you're watching the video right now, and you're in class. If you have any questions about how I got 7,948 and you don't get it, this is where you raise your hand and you go, hey, Mr. Roberts, can you help me out with this? So I'm just making sure that you understand that you can ask questions. Number 2 is 1,983. Yes, we had to borrow a couple of times in that question. Number 3, you should have got 35. And that one worked out evenly because 24 goes into 84 3 times. That gives me 72. I subtract, I get 120. 24 goes into 125 times, so 35. And on this last one, you should have got 1,140 by going through that same process that we did in your journal. So let's move on to number 5, 6, and 7. So on this one, it asks us, it says, circle the symbol for the operation add, subtract, multiply, or divide you would use to solve the problem. Then write out the problem. Don't answer the question. So we don't have to answer this. All we have to do is decide, is it add, subtract, multiply, or divide, and then set it up. So number 5 says, Mr. Kurtz bought 2,000 purple and green pencils for the start of school. 300 of them were red. How many were green? Okay, so there is a problem with question number 5, and this is supposed to say purple. So Mr. Kurtz bought 2,000 purple and green pencils for the start of school. 300 of them were purple. How many were green? Well, to find out how many were green, we're going to use subtraction. So we're going to go 2,000 minus 300, and that would give us the answer. But that's as far as we have to go. We do not have to answer the question. Okay, looking at number 6. Miss Blair has 272 books that she wants to put into boxes. Each box can hold 17 books. How many boxes does she need? So we're going to use, what do you think? Division, right? So we're going to go 272 divided by 17. On number 7, the movie theater has 12 rows. Each row has 10 seats in it. How many seats does the movie theater have? Well, 12 times 10 will give us the right answer on that one. Now, let's take a look at the bottom of the page here. It says, find the perimeter and the area of the rectangle. So, remember in our journal, it gave us some formulas for area and perimeter. Well, it says perimeter first here, so I'm going to find the perimeter. Now, perimeter, if you can think about this, perimeter means the measurement of all the outside of whatever you're talking about. So on this, we're talking about a rectangle. And we can see that the rectangle is 10 inches from here to here and 6 from here to here. Well, the cool thing about rectangles is they're the opposite side of it is the same. So we know that this one has to be 6, and this one up here is 10. So how do I find the perimeter? I can do two things. I can either do this times 2 plus this times 2. Or I can just add up all the sides. So I can just go 10 plus 10 plus 6 plus 6, which is 10, 20, 32. So it equals, P equals 32. Okay, so for the area now, the area is just the base times the height, or the length times the height, whichever you want to call it. So our base is 10 times 6, which equals 60, and we're going to call it area. And by the way, I need to mention this. When we're doing measurement, it's really important to use the unit of measurement. So on this one, it would have been inches. Now, the interesting thing about area is when we find the area, we actually found little squares in here. So there's 60 of those squares, and we call them inches squared. Okay? So let's take a look at number 9, 10, and 11 now. You buy a dozen cookies at Dutchman's. The total cost is $36. What is the cost per cookie? Oh my goodness. What are we going to do? We got to find out what it is. So we're going to use division to do this. We're going to take 36 and we're going to divide it by 12. Well, how many times is 12 going to 36? 3. So it is $3 per cookie. So $3 per one cookie. And if you can read my writing. Okay, so we're going back to what we did in our bell work, making the mixed number into an improper fraction. So again, we're going to go 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9, put it over the 2. 9 halves. And then we're going to simplify the fraction. Now, simplifying fractions, there's different ways to do it. But for our purposes today, I'm going to start out simply by asking, well, what number goes evenly into 16 and a 28? Now, you can start off with 2 because 2 goes into it. But if you do it by 2, it'll simplify it, but then you might have to simplify it again. So I am going to say, you know what? I know my multiplication tables. I know that 4 goes into 16. And 4 goes into 28. Well, how many times does 4 go into 16? 4 times. How many times does it go into 28? 7. Now, you always, when you're simplifying a fraction, ask yourself, does this new fraction that I got, can it simplify any further? Is there any numbers that go into 4 and 7 evenly? If you answer no, you're done. You're done. You've simplified it. But if you answer yes, you got to do it again until it gets to where it can't simplify any further. So I know that 4/7 is correct because there are no common factors between 4 and 7. Okay. All right, so if you'll turn your paper over, you're going to see that this is your assignment. Now, it is very, very much like the practice side. You can see that we have everything that's pretty much the same. You just have to do it on your own now. Now, tomorrow, what will happen is you'll come into class and you'll get out your assignment and your bell work. You'll set it down on your table and you'll start on your bell work. Mr. Roberts is going to take the role, and I will be coming around to look at your assignment to give you credit if you finish this. Yes, we would like you to do 1 through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This bonus down here is just worth extra points. So I'm not going to give very many hints on these bonus questions because I want to see what you guys know. So if you do this, you could get extra credit if you got 100% on the whole assignment. And then you get that right, you're going to get some extra points. If you miss a couple of problems up here and you get this one right, it'll help you get closer to being 100%. So it's up to you to give that a try. Again, if you do have any questions, that's why I'm here. I'm here, and all of your other if you have another math teacher, your teacher is here to help you to understand this stuff that we're learning. So please ask questions, and we will continue on with these videos, and we'll continue learning math. Math is a cool thing. You just have to sometimes learn the rules. It's like a game. Yeah, once you learn the rules of the game, it becomes the game becomes fun. If you try and play a game that you've never played before and you don't know the rules, it's kind of hard. So learn the rules of this game called math that we're playing every day. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.